Hello and welcome back to Planet 40k, where we cover unit reviews from the 40k universe. So we ran a poll on our Patreon service, links in the description if you haven't seen that. We ran a poll to decide which was the next unit to review from the Necron Codex. So the winner of that poll was the Immortals, so that's the topic today. They're one of two troop choices within the Codex, and we've already covered the Warriors, so if you've yet to see that review, I'll leave a link in the top right hand corner for you now, so go check that out or save it to your watch list. As for Immortals, they're 4 power if you're going up to 5 models, another 4 power if you go from 6 to 10 models. As for their points, they're 17 points each, and then there is a weapon upgrade option which we'll discuss in more detail later in the video. So without upgrade, the 10-man unit is costing you 170 points. Kicking us off with the keywords for the unit, they have the Dynasty keyword going into any dynasty. They've got the core keyword, their Immortals, and they've got the infantry keyword. So that core keyword in particular stands out for me as it interacts with quite a lot of the codex itself. As for stat line, movement 5-inch, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 1, attacks 2, leadership 10, and a 3+ save. So these guys got a toughness 5 now, which is awesome, and 2 attacks 2. So they've got quite a tidy stat line now, and of course they've got a better save than a warrior, being a 3+ save. As for abilities, there's only 2 here, both are quite common ones. The first one being Reanimation Protocols, and the second one being Command Protocols. So Reanimation Protocols works best on single wound models. So for your Immortals, it's going to be great as each attack that kills your guys will give you a chance of getting them back on a 5+. And as they're single wound models, they only are required to roll one single 5+ roll per model. Whereas if you compare that to say a Scorpec Destroyer, you need 3 lots of 5+ rolls just to get 1 up, so the odds are stacked against you with those. So when you run a unit of these, ideally you want them in max units of 10 to maximise the effectiveness of Reanimation Protocols. If you did only have a 5-man unit, then they would be very easily removed within 1 volley of shooting from a single unit, and you won't get to even reanimate. They also come with Command Protocols, which is your army-wide buff each battle round. You select the order of the Command Protocols pre-game, then in each turn you can have the choice of 2 directives to go with your entire army. Now anyone can benefit from this if they're within 6 inches of a character unit and when there is a noble on the table. So as for noble, your overlords and your name characters, they've all got the noble keyword. So as mentioned, only 2 abilities here, nothing else special here, so we'll move swiftly on to their weapons. Now this is a ranged unit, so both options are shooting weapons. The weapon that the Immortals come stock with is the Gauss blasters. They're a range 30-inch, rapid fire 1, strength 5, -2 AP and 1 damage. So these blasters are the better versions of the Warrior's Gauss flayers with the added strength and AP. The range is also much more usable too at 30-inch range, so 15-inch rapid fire isn't that bad. I would have rathered it with just assault 2, so that I wasn't forced to get within 15 inches to get my 2 shots off, as it's quite dangerous as your Immortals will be within charge range next turn. As for the maths, a max unit of 10 of these guys with rapid fire range will have 20 shots. Now if you're not within rapid fire range, then you simply half all the maths I'm about to do. So with 20 shots, on average you're hitting 13.3 times. Wounding toughness 3 and 4 models on 3s, which is nice, so you're wounding them about 8.9 times. Against Death Guard or any other toughness 5 units, it's going to be 4s to wound, giving about 6.7 wounds. Against toughness 6 right up to toughness 9, you're now needing 5s, so only about 4.4 to be expected there. Then anything tougher than that is going to require 6s, so only about 2.2 wounds there. All of these wounds are before armor saves, of course. Now your weapon does have a -2 AP modifier, so against standard Space Marines you're going to put them on a 5+ armor save. So expect them to save on average a third of those wounds. So if you're wounding toughness 4 Space Marines, you're probably going to end up doing about 6 wounds, as they're going to save the others. So 3 Primaris Marines will die, as they're 2 wounded models nowadays. So the weapon is pretty good for taking on toughness 4 infantry. And it also does pretty well against toughness 5 too, but any tougher than that then you're wasting your shots, as it's only a single damage and sticking 3 wounds on a toughness 7 vehicle just isn't worth it unless you've got no other targets available. So it's not a bad weapon. If you did want a different weapon however, then there is one other option, which is the Tesla Carbine. Now each model needs to pay 2 points to have one, so your max unit will be 20 points more, taking it to 190 points for the unit. So the Tesla Carbine is 24-inch range, assault 2, strength 5, it's no AP and 1 damage. Now each time an attack is made with this weapon, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 always scores 2 additional attacks. So it is shorter range and no AP, however you do get to shoot with 2 shots from a little further back at 24-inch, as opposed to the Gauss blaster needing the unit to be within 15 just to double tap. Now each 6 to hit will not only hit, but it will give you 2 more hits, which is the key ability here with this weapon. So we need to look at how this is going to affect the maths. So 2 shots a model is going to give you 20 shots, and on average again that's 13.3 hits. Out of all those shots, on average you're going to get 3.36s. Now when you take the maths and turn it into physical dice rolls, you can't obviously roll 3.36s, so for argument's sake I'm going to call this 3 6s, which will give you 6 additional attacks. Now you can expect slightly more on average, but the dice are random, so don't hold me to it. So this total is approximately 19.3 hits. In fact, let's round that up to 20 hits just to make up for earlier. It's not that far off now. In fact, if anyone in the comments knows how to work that out, then go for it. I'll probably pin it in the top comment if it's confirmed by others. Anyway, back to my version of the math. So 20 hits due to those exploding 6s. Now moving toughness 3 and 4 models on 3s, giving about 13.3 wounds. Toughness 5 will need 4s, so about 10 wounds. Toughness 6 right up to toughness 9 requires 5s to wound, so on average about 6.7. Then any tougher needs 6s to wound, so only about 3.3. So again, it's still pretty effective against toughness 4 or less, or even toughness 5 has a fair amount of damage on them. Now this is all pre-armor save again. Now this is where the slight issue does come up, because there's no AP on this weapon, so those marines that have got a 3+ save will still get a 3+ save, so they're going to negate 2/3 of the wounds that get through. Now it's totally different against a different type of army such as orcs or tyranids who've got horde units with a 6+ armor save, as that 6+ armor save is massively not in their favour and your Tesla weapon will do bits. So if you do know who you're up against and they've got weak saves, then select this weapon over the Gauss. In fact, it doesn't even need to be a 6+ save, a 5+ save is also pretty good. Something else to add to this weapon profile not mentioned yet is the fact that it's an assault weapon, so you could opt to advance and fire it at a -1 to hit. Could be all sorts of reasons why, maybe to tie up a unit in combat or to jump on an objective, or just simply to get into range of certain aura buffs. Either way, just remember that it is an option, and some of your opponents won't expect your shooty Necrons to make those type of manoeuvres, so you can catch them off guard and score some points, or even deny points. So let's talk about ways of how to improve your immortals. Firstly, I want to look at some synergy with the other buffing characters. So an overlord or a noble model within the book has the My Will Be Done ability, which is really good for your guys as it gives them a +1 to hit due to them being core. So now they're going to be hitting on 2s. So you're looking at taking down enemy units with sheer amount of firepower now, and that My Will Be Done ability also assists with the second thing with the immortals. So if you do opt for the Tesla weapon, then you could advance and still fire it as it's an assault weapon, which obviously will give you a -1 to hit modifier, but then the My Will Be Done will effectively cancel that out because it gives you a +1 to hit modifier. So you'll be still hitting on 3s. The overlords and nobles also give you an additional 1-inch movement with their relentless march. And again, it's going to interact with your immortals because they're core. Another option for your overlord is the Reanimation orb. Now the orb isn't the most effective option on a 10-man unit, as even if you've lost 9 models to a round of shooting and you pop the orb, you're going to need 5s and 6s. So on average you're only going to get about 3 standing up, which is either 51 points or 57 points depending on which upgrade weapon you selected. And the orb costs you 30. Now don't get me wrong, you have gained a few points there, but it's probably better served on larger units such as warriors. And you may even be unlucky and only roll 2 5-ups, which will only just break even. So staying with the overlords and other HQ models, there's a fan favourite in the relics area, which is the Veil of Darkness. So it's a mega powerful relic here. It's a once per battle item equipped to a non-named character unit. So in the movement phase, you select the bearer plus a core unit that is within 3 inches of the bearer, so i.e. your immortals. Then you remove both units from the battle and set them up anywhere on the table as long as you're more than 9 inches away from enemy units. So that 15-inch rapid fire range won't be an issue anymore, so the Veil of Darkness will take you to a position that is easily within range. Your opponent may be trying to screen off areas of the board to prevent you from using this, but even if you don't use it early, it's still making your opponent have to play defensively and not be marching up the board towards your objectives. It also doesn't have to be used on the immortals, of course, so that could just bait them out. And really you could be teleporting a unit of Lich Guard over there, so it's quite a tactical relic to use. A Chronomancer is really good for your immortals, as the Chronometron gives your guys a reroll to charge, but more importantly a 5+ invuln save, so pretty big resiliency buff for your toughness 5 guys. Illumina Zaraz also has the ability to get 1 single immortal back per turn, and he's also got another buffing rule to give a core unit one of the following, so they can either get a +1 to their strength, +1 to their toughness, or + 1 to their ballistic skill. Each one of them has their own uses in different ways. The toughness is probably not required as you're already toughness 5, but that ballistic skill is very handy, getting a 2+ ballistic skill. So I want to talk about some Dynastic Codes now. So there's a few very strong ones in the book that will aid your unit. The obvious one to go to is the Mephrit Dynasty, giving you a +3-inch boost to all ranged weapons, taking your blasters to a 33-inch range and your Tesla Carbine to a 27-inch range. And with that blaster in particular, it's also going to aid that rapid fire. They also gain an additional -1 AP modifier if you fire within half range, so now your blasters are going to be -3 AP, which puts those marines on a 6+ armor save. Pretty reliable to move those off the board. Even your Tesla Carbine is now at a -1 AP, which is quite helpful. They've got a stratagem called Talent for Annihilation, which is 1 CP. Any 6 to wound will cause a wound on top of the damage, to a max of 3 wounds. So not bad. The Necron Dynasty, another one that helps, will give you an army-wide 6+ in-run save, and you can auto-advance 6 inches. You can also do this through terrain and other models too, a bit like Wraiths. The Dynasty has a unique stratagem called Translocation Script for 1 CP, where you can deep strike your unit of Immortals in. So one nice combo is to deep strike into them a location, and have a Cryptek with a Dimensional Sanctum, which can also deep strike, but also give the Cryptek the Veil of Darkness relic, as already previously mentioned. So then you can relocate that unit a second time within the game after destroying an enemy unit on the first stop. The Nihilate code is also strong, gives your army objectives secured, and any unit that already has objectives secured, i.e. your Immortals, will count as 2 models for contesting objectives. They also shrug off -1 AP weapons to 0 AP weapons if you're wholly within your own deployment zone, so again more resiliency. Their unique stratagem for 1 CP allows your unit to perform an action while shooting, so really handy for your secondaries. The Novak code is an interesting one. At a glance you might skim over this dynasty as it's more geared towards combat orientated units, but this code adds 1 to your unit's charge roll. Okay, that's fine, but it also gives you an additional -1 AP if you charged, were charged or heroically intervened. That's okay too, I guess. They've got a stratagem called Blood Rights, gives you an additional attack per model just for 1 CP. Then there's another stratagem called Disruption Fields that gives core units a +1 to their strength. So when you link all this together, your Immortals actually start on 2 attacks each, so they'll be going to 3 attacks with the stratagem, and then they'll be on strength 5 due to the other stratagem and a -1 AP on top of that. You can take this further with Anorak the Traveller, giving them all another attack each, and they'll be +1 to their hit rolls because he's got My Will Be Done, so they'll be hitting on 2s. Moving into the Saltak Dynasty, they allow a reroll to the morale test, and also your rapid fire weapons can double tap at 18-inch range rather than 15-inch. So if you do want to be shooting a bit further back, then this is the way to go. Their Dynasty's unique stratagem is called Methodical Destruction, which lets 1 Celtic unit tag an enemy unit for the rest of the Celtic units to also fire at, but they'll be gaining a +1 to their hits roll. So you just get 1 model within your army, such as 1 Immortal, 1 Warrior, whatnot, fire it at that targeted unit, and which will tag it, and then the rest of your army will have a +1 to hit. Noteworthy mentions from the custom Dynasty Codes. So from the first list you've got Eternal Conquerors to get that double model count on objectives secured. Immovable Phalanx if you plan on keeping your unit stationary. This will bring them up to a 2+ save, which is mega. Combine that with light cover and watch your opponent cry. Pitiless Hunters, which is like Bolter Discipline. If you remain stationary you can fire at double shots even at 30-inch range, so a great option for your Gauss blasters. Then from the second list you've got Healthy Paranoia, giving you a +3-inch range to your weapons. Isolationist, which gives you a +1 strength to your ranged weapons if you fire within 12 inches. Now this only works with a Gauss blaster, as it's rapid fire. You've got Relentless Expansionist, which is pretty good for your Immortals. It gives you a 6-inch move after deployment but before turn 1, so you can get into cover or into a better range. Now if I was to go custom, I'd select Immovable Phalanx with Relentless Expansionist, purely because Relentless Expansionist is a move that isn't done in your turn, so you can get yourself into cover and it's not going to affect your Immovable Phalanx ability as you remain stationary during your turn 1, so you will benefit from that +1 to your armor save. So before we go into the rating, we do need to talk about stratagems. Relentless Onslaught for 1 CP grants any 6s to hit with your Gauss blasters an additional hit. Feels a bit like Tesla, that one. Disruption Fields is the stratagem that grants +1 to your strength in combat, which we already mentioned previously. This will cost you 1 CP as well. Disintegration Capacitors for 1 CP. You use this on your Gauss rapid fire blasters. Again, if you hit on 6s, it will auto wound. Now, about a month ago there was a discussion in the comments on how this interacts with the Relentless Onslaught stratagem, as both trigger when you hit on 6s, but one gives an extra attack and one makes the attack auto wound. So I can't for the life of me remember which video it was and what the outcome was, so you guys will have to remind me if the extra attacks made from the first stratagem will also auto wound using the second stratagem. Malevolent Arcing for 1 CP. When using the Tesla Carbines, you roll a d6 for each unit within 6 inches of the targeted unit, and on a 4+, that unit will suffer a mortal wound. So not bad on factions that like to close up. The last one worth a mention here is Solar Pulse for 1 CP, which removes benefits of cover. So it's especially needed for those Tesla Carbines to avoid any 2+ saves. So to summarise, the Necron Immortals are a solid unit. They feel like an upgrade from a warrior, as they are toughness 5, have an extra attack and a better save. The issue here is that the max unit is capped at 10 Immortals, and in terms of competitive play, warriors are far more superior, purely based on 3 things. Number 1, the unit size being 20. This massively aids any reanimation protocols or resurrectional rolls, and it makes the unit much more survivable. And they also get to reroll 1s for that too. Not only that, the Technomancers and Ghost Arcs heal D3 rather than just 1. The second reason, although the Warriors have the same strength weapons just at a shorter range, they still have twice as many shots, again due to the unit size. And then finally getting on to number 3, it still relates to the unit size, but holding objectives with 20 guys as opposed to 10 is a massive difference. I mean, you can double up with the Nihilak Dynasty Code, but you can also do this with Warriors too, so it makes no difference. Now there are advantages of having Immortals over Warriors. For example, if you had the spare points and you can afford a min unit, you could buy 5 Immortals for only 85 points, whereas a min unit of Warriors is 130 because you need at least 10. A min unit of 5 could be a solid tough objective holding unit. Now you could just get a unit of Scarabs, but they aren't anywhere near as tough as your Immortals, and your Immortals do have a reasonable amount of damage output alongside it. The other advantage is the morale phase. Now having a unit of 5 or 10 will have a less impact in this phase. I've had games where a lot of Warriors have died due to failing morale and rolling poorly in the combat attrition test. Now in 9th edition it's not as bad as 8th, but it's still something. Blast is also less of a concern as you won't have over 11 models, so you won't auto take any 3 or 6 hits from those D3 and D6 dice. Other than those few advantages, I don't see the unit being better than the Warriors, so today I'm going to be giving the Necron Immortals a Planet 40k rating of 3.5 out of 5. Now they probably do deserve a touch more, but they'll always be overshadowed by the Necron Warriors, who synergize so much better with the entire Codex. Now unless you really like Immortals, I just don't see why you'd want to field them. Anyway, that's what I think. Let me know your thoughts below, and also let me know how you field them. Like, what unit size do you use, what dynasty code do you use? It would be great to get some dialogue going for this one, and as always I pretty much respond to every comment, so don't be afraid to say hi. So guys and girls, don't forget to check out our Patreon service for those early access videos and polls and all that other good 40k related stuff. It massively helps in funding the channel, so take a look at that if you can. You can find us on both Twitter and Instagram, to where at some point in 2021 we are going to begin doing giveaways to our followers and patrons. So give us a follow on both of those to keep on top of that. Also don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Then finally remember to like the video on the way out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.